T-Rell, tell Destiny about why you aren't vaccinated and refuse to get your kids vaccinated.
Oh no.
I refuse to have a vaccination just because I just think it's just I don't know because it's the history behind it, you know. And then I heard you talking about the Tuskegee thing, and just the history behind Black people being tested on for different things, and you know, being the test dummy for different vaccinations and different experiments like that. We're just kind of hesitant on being vaccinated and being just the the experiment monkey out here. So I mean, I think that's just me. I don't think that shit is real. I don't think it has enough information. I don't think you guys can formulate a vaccination that fucking fast and you know what I'm saying and have that much information on it to whether or not it's gonna have any side effects for it or anything like that. I'm just weary of that shit.
Would you give your kids other vaccinations, or you just don't fuck with none of that shit?
And when I go to the hospital, when I've just recently, just for my last 2 kids, being in a hospital and them asking me, do I want these vaccinations? And then me asking what these vaccinations are for. I'm literally asking the nurses what these vaccinations are for. I'm like, what is this shit? What is it? What are you finna do? What does it cause? What is it keeping away? And some of the nurses literally don't know. Some of the doctors literally don't know. So, and then some of them say, okay, this is for hepatitis. This is hepatitis C. This is for this. And I'm like, okay, so does that like prevent them from getting hepatitis? No. I'm like, well, they don't need it. So it's just like so at this point, I'm just weary of the shit. So I'm like, I don't need it, you know, because I feel like it's just causing harm.
Oh man. Okay. So you think vaccines are not very effective on a scale from 1 to 10? How strong is that opinion? Like how confident are you that like vaccines are bullshit?
I'm gonna go at least an 8.
An 8. Okay. So you have a very strong feeling that vaccines are bullshit.
Yeah.
So then my question to you would be, well, firstly, do you feel like you have a reasonable opinion on it? Like you have a sound mind. It's not just an emotional reaction, but you've like thought through it and you're like, yeah, this is bullshit.
I haven't thought through it all the way, but I just
But
for some reason,
but you're still at an 8.
For some reason, I just feel like
he's just suspicious. This is kind
I'm
of like
just- yeah,
this
when you
is
feel
kind of his
suspicious-
answer to every question we're gonna ask him. Honestly, is that he's just kind of suspicious.
I mean, but if you take the vaccine and the vaccine is okay, we have the vaccine in America, and then they give you the vaccine, and then people are still dying, like okay, then I'm weary. You know, I'm just worried about it. Like I don't want to.
Would you not wear a seatbelt if people were still dying in car accidents?
I mean, the percentage of people wearing seatbelts, they die like they still die.
Less,
I mean,
Yeah, but the percentage of people with vaccinations that have like serious complications, have to go to the hospital or die, is also way lower than the unvaccinated.
But actually, I don't know if those numbers are being exaggerated.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about us not knowing what to trust in the media, and there's just like this.
Sure, but then so then here's like the next question that I have. Then, if we want to go that deep, right? So if you don't trust the media, why do you trust the people that show up on Joe Rogan?
I don't, but I questioned it though.
Yeah, but so you guys are all entrepreneurs, right? So there's a lie that people don't know until they get into the business world, right? Inaction or indecision is an action or is a decision, right? So when it comes to making a statement on something, you can't really be on the fence. For vaccinations, you either are or you aren't, right? So you've made a decision to be against it, right? So I feel like you can't just go through life being like, I'm undecided on all these things, because you have to make a decision, right? You can't be undecided on whether or not you want to wear a seatbelt or not. You either wear it or you don't. I feel like you have to do the same for like vaccines.
But hasn't facts come out that the vaccination or vaccines, they're proven not to help, you know what I'm saying? And there weren't like studies that were proven to like help our community, you know what I'm saying? But
here's the thing, it's kind of like what he said earlier. You could find data to support that theory, and you could find data to support the contrary. So that makes...
What's the best argument for why getting vaccinated is a good idea for people who have this like suspicious attitude about it?
Well,
because
go hard, Destiny.
I feel like I have kind of maybe at certain points even like radicalized them more by being kind of a dick when we were having the argument about vaccines early on, which I regret. I wish that I had been a little bit more open to their concerns or whatever, and I never really know where exactly to go in terms of making the argument.
Well, the question comes from where the belief comes from, right? So, like, the belief comes from. So now that we've talked a little bit, right? If a belief comes from a distrust of the institutions, if I sit here and I'm like, well, this study says that, and that study says that, and Fauci said, like, they're not going to care because they mistrust the institutions, right?
Right.
So, but then the question that I always have for people that have a distrust in the institutions is, well, then who do you trust and why, right? Because if I look at like, here's like a little game that I can play kind of. This is a game that I play. When competing interests are recommending me the same thing, I usually think like, that's probably a really good idea because people that are totally different are recommending this, right? But when somebody's recommending something and then everybody else is like recommending against it, or I see like where the motivations are, it's like, okay, I can kind of understand, what's going on. Like ExxonMobil, for instance, I believe they acknowledge anthropogenic climate change. So they believe that climate change is happening and it's human driven. And that's a fossil fuel company, ExxonMobil. If they're saying it, it's probably true.
Because
right?
it goes fundamentally against
Yeah,
their
I'm like, holy
business
shit.
model.
As a black man, I do not trust the white man for any information at all. And this
Well, but who
test,
is-
and this,
See,
and
this is a big hump to get past.
This is true for 600, 700 years. I do not trust you guys to give me any information for anything that you think is right for my community at all.
Yeah, but the guy that got you sold on the anti-vax talking points on Joe Rogan, was it a white man or a black man?
It was a black guy.
It
for
was
sure.
both.
no white.
I mean, but
'Cause I
Joe
think usually
Rogan, but Joe
anti-vaxxers
Rogan,
are white.
but
It was a
Joe
black
Rogan was kind of
Really?
like agreeing with him, and then and he was, the points were it was black and white. But
Okay.
if a white man comes to me and sells me something and tells me this is good for me, and comes to our community, and you guys are 4 white men, we like hell no, and it's been like that for so fucking long. Like, you can give me a list of facts of what you think is great for me. Like, well, you fucking take it. I'm not taking it. You know what I'm saying? You guys test it out first because you the test dummy. Because you don't have me in shackles now. I don't have to be the test
I had
dummy.
it, like,
You be the test dummy.
The week it came out.
But that's the thing. Yeah, the vaccine.
You had it the week you came out and your ass got sick.
Yeah, I got COVID, but I'm actually a great example because my girl got COVID when I had COVID. She wasn't vaccinated because she was breastfeeding or pregnant or whatever, and my COVID was like very minimal in comparison to her, where she still like has a hard time tasting food. Like
I had a
over
similar
year.
experience.
I actually know some people that got the vaccine and died.
Well, yeah,
I
that's.
know multiple people that got the vaccine and died.
Were they like old people in poor health, or are these?
Okay,
like,
so here we go with the old people.
I'm
and poor
asking
health
you.
Here, well,
shit.
no, this
I
is the
just-
easiest. That's
I
the
just
easiest
asked
one
you,
in the world.
were they?
Well,
yes.
I mean, yes, they were.
Okay.
I don't know if they were in poor health, but they were older.
Okay, so
if this vaccine has been given out billions of times, that's a big number, right? We don't deal with in the billions very often when it comes to people. Very rarely. Usually it's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds, maybe millions or hundreds of millions for large countries. But billions of people have gotten this vaccine. If it was causing people to drop dead, you wouldn't have to go to www.esotericvaccineinformation.com to find out. That shit would be headlining every fucking major story everywhere. And more importantly, what I said about the incentives earlier, if those vaccines were fucking people over, China and Russia, right, enemies of the United States, they'd be screaming that from the rooftops, right? They'd be talking about how the evil Americans have created these horrible vaccines that are killing people, but they aren't saying shit about it, right? When so many people in society, academia, government institutions, private company, other countries have come together and like, yeah, these vaccines are probably okay. I just can't imagine that information being, I mean, it might be wrong in the future, but it's not misleading. They're not lying.
it's
right?
definitely not part of a conspiracy to kill black people, right?
Well,
Yeah.
do you-
Which I feel like that's what you're suspicious of.
But
I
like,
mean,
do you
yeah.
feel like they were specifically targeting black people with that? Because it was kind of.
I mean, yeah, they were targeting black people because they said black people had the virus out of the most of any race.
Because of
Well, 'cause weren't they
systematic conditions, like,
There was
living
that,
in
and they were
worse
also not
areas
getting
and-
vaccinated a lot. too.
Right, because there was such a cultural
Fuck outta
thing
here.
against it.
I'm gonna get the fuck out of here on y'all, man.
No, because there was like a big cultural thing against vaccination, and that's why you had people spending money on having fucking Juvenile do a pro-vaccination version of Back That Thing Up and shit like that.
How many are you vaccinated?
3 times.
How many times have you got COVID?
1 time.
How many times have you got COVID?
Once.
And you the fuck.
Perhaps twice. We don't know about that other time. I never tested positive, but I was pretty fucking sick.
And my one COVID was, one day was like pretty shitty, like a bad cold. And then I had kind of like a dumb cough for like a week. But then I was fine. It was
What
just
about
like a
you?
1 day thing.
He got hit.
Yeah, I got hit for sure.
bad.
Yeah, it was bad. Whole family.
Damn, what the fuck?
Whole family.
All non-vaccinated.
But it wasn't no vaccination out, dog. Like,
Oh, this is back in the
Oh,
day.
was
yeah,
it
this
back-
is
okay.
back when it first
So
happened.
you were like first wave COVID.
yeah, it was first wave. After that, I was good. I mean,
But you could get it again.
it's very likely. Even if I'm vaccinated, you can get it.
Should I go get boosted?
Maybe.
Would your advice be to
I
go
can't
get
tell who
boosted?
the fuck you're looking at. Those sunglasses.
You, motherfucker.
Okay.
No,
Tell
I'm
him to
talking
take.
about-
Tell him he's too fucking cool for
Why
the
do you have
sunglasses.
why do you have sunglasses on?
I
inside?
mean, on
Where the
camera
fuck
all
is
day.
clear?
These lights are bright as fuck.
Jesus
Fine.
Christ.
All
Well, why
right.
don't you look at us instead of the fucking lights?
All
then?
right,
Yeah,
all
be
right,
plugged
all
in
right.
to your
God
fucking
damn it.
members.
I have to go, you guys.
He's getting too comfortable. He's reprimanding me.
Yeah,
All right.
I love you guys. It was
Love you
nice
too,
talking
man.
to you.
Good luck,
you.
man.
Glad we
Use
were
the
able to
left.
get that in.
My hands fucked up, so use the left.
It's all
I love you
good,
guys.
T-Rell. I'll hold it down for
This
the
was
for the
great.
black people.
I might
your
get
absence.
educated a little bit more. I've never been to college. You know what I'm
The
saying?
fact that I'm going to get to
But,
read
yeah.
about you in the Destiny subreddit is going to be a wonderful experience. I cannot
no.
wait.
Y'all get me, man. I hung
jeez.
with Destiny just a little bit. He was looking at me crazy, like this nigga don't know what the fuck he talking about. But that's okay, man. I love you to death.
You might get
man.
some
I
girls
love
through
you.
this.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Hey, much love, dog. Appreciate you. Yo, we just hit 400,000 subscribers right here on the Clips channel. So if you want to help us out, click subscribe, get us to 500K. Yeah.